We heard on the radio earlier there was some guy somewhere who had gotten charged with fraudulent use of a credit card. Now, I'm not here to speak on whether he's guilty or not, but I am here to speak on the issue of a fraudulent use of a credit card. And this can be a tricky situation. And I know you may be out there saying, well, it doesn't sound tricky, Fuller. You know, you take somebody's credit card and you use it. That's pretty clear cut. Well, you may be right on those issues, but some of the ones that are not so clear are what happens if you're working for somebody and they let you have the credit card and, you know, they say, hey, you know, when you go to the store and get me groceries, why don't you get yourself a Coke? And then they forget they told you about the Coke and they think maybe you stole the Coke. Well, even if it's a Coke, that is still a misdemeanor if you've not got authority to use somebody's credit card and you use it. And where this usually falls into play is when mom or dad or aunt and uncle are getting older. And one of the problems that we find is there's usually one relative or a caregiver who's hired to some sort of capacity to take care of them, and they've been using that person's credit card to take care of them, you know, go to the store and do the whole 9 yards. And then something happens to them and the family comes in and sees all these charges that maybe mom agreed to, maybe mom didn't agree to. And the next thing you know, you've got a situation where it really appears that maybe somebody didn't have the authority to use the credit card the way it looks. And you may find, and because fraudulent use of a credit card, there's a 6-month look-back window. So it's not just the one use. We look at all the charges for a 6-month window. And if during that time you've been taking care of somebody and you've been going to the grocery, the pharmacy, the whole 9 yards, and there are extra charges on there, that can very easily total up to thousands of dollars. And once you get over the $1,000 mark, you're in felony territory. Felony for fraudulent use of a credit card totals a D felony. That's up to 6 years in prison, is between $1,000 and $5,000. Then between $5,000 and $25,000 is a C felony. That's 3 to 10 years. And then a B felony, well, you're looking at a whole lot longer. You're looking at least 5 years in prison, and up to 20. That's $25,000 or more. And if all those charges ring up, part of a guilty plea is you got to pay all that stuff back. Now, what if you'd find yourself taking care of somebody and you didn't have, or it's found that you didn't have authority to use their credit card? Then you may find yourself in a situation where there are tens of thousands of dollars where you've been taking care of somebody and you didn't have authority to use their credit card. And if that's the case, then you may be going to prison. You're at least going to get probation and have to pay all that money back. So it's so important that if you're using somebody's credit card, A, probably you need to think twice about using it, but B, really make sure you have the proper authority, especially if you're working for somebody, you know, and they're getting older and maybe their competency is not the best, or it's shaky, because it could turn on you. You know, you never know when that family member is going to pop in, that hateful Steve, we'll call him, comes in and, you know, you've been bending over backwards for years taking care of Aunt Betty, and hateful Steve comes in and you know what hateful Steve does. That's why we call him Hateful Steve. So if you're using somebody's credit card and you don't have authority, you're going to get in trouble. So if you're using it and you do have authority, but you're not sure everybody knows about it, you really need to get that cleaned up, because you could find yourself in front of the state of Arkansas facing felony charges. Now, hopefully you're not facing felony charges. Hopefully life's good, but, you know, life doesn't always work that way. So if you need help with criminal charges, custody, personal injury actions, really the whole 9 yards, give me a call. We'll schedule your appointment, bring you in, and see if we can't get you headed in a better direction.